The Stanek Gallery's new show is called Bridges and features work by artists with roots in South Jersey. One of them explained the title of her newest sculpture.
I'm Catherine Stanek. The most recent piece is called Laurel, the idea of when you achieve something, that being a crowning event, how do you get beyond it? How do you go further? You've hit this pinnacle, then what?
The fact that the Stanek Gallery is doing really well, is that at all involved in this? You keep having wonderful shows.
I do, and I love to take 100% credit for all of it, but it's the wonderful artists that we're attracting that's making the difference. And I think that our concept of bringing in a new show every 8 weeks with a new body of work is serving us well. Mary Cantone is the owner of the William Risk Gallery that was originally in Stone Harbor and now is in Jamesport, New York. She comes with a wealth of experience. When I started doing this, I called her, talked to her about it, and said we've got to do something together. At the same time, I've worked with Bill Horin on a number of different projects involving South Jersey, and I admire what he's doing to promote the work of the South Jersey artists.
My name is Bill Horin.
And are you the curator of the show?
Well, my title is co-curator, but I have to say Deborah Fine and Catherine Stanek did so much of the work that I feel a little guilty taking that title, to be honest with you.
Well, most of the artists in the show that I was part of selecting, I had met either through my magazine, radio show, or TV show, and I got a really good chance to see their work and get to know them a little bit. Mary Cantone was the other curator. She has some great artists at her gallery, so she had a lot of artists to choose from. Catherine and Deborah went through these artists and knew exactly what they were looking for. They took out their iPads and looked at each artist's work. They saw things that I could have never have seen in the artwork and what the artist had to offer. And they helped Mary and I select which ones would work for this. Because curating is more than just picking good artists, it's picking artists that work well together.
I'm Frank Callum.
Painter who lives at the Jersey Shore, very inspired by nature. My work is often about the poetry of light and space, the colors you find in the natural world. I would call it surrealistic painting because I paint them automatically. They start out very abstractly and then they sort of coalesce and I see images in the abstraction and I start bringing that out with brushwork. This one, for instance, is called Allegory of Time. And I started out with an unstretched gessoed canvas and I tacked it to a bulkhead at a place where I surf. And I did a charcoal rubbing of the wood grain of the bulkhead. Then I took it back to my studio, it was still unstretched, fixed the charcoal onto the canvas, laid it on the floor, and started pouring and splattering translucent acrylic paint. I would let the layers dry in between. And I would keep building it up and building it up, the texture. Then once I start seeing the imagery, I bring out the brushes and start bringing that out.
The surrealist artist Max Ernst did rubbings also. Do you know about him?
Oh, I sure do, yeah. Max Ernst is one of my favorite surrealists. And I paint in different styles. I also can paint very traditional academic realism.
My name is Erin Endicott. I do painted stitches on found wood. My background is in embroidery, hand embroidery, and I do painted marks that are reminiscent of the stitch work.
They're incredibly detailed. It looks like it might be somewhat time-consuming.
It's time-consuming, but not as time-consuming as actually stitching the pieces. Ever since I was very young, I was a watercolor painter, and then about 8 years ago I started doing hand stitching, and then now I'm sort of combining those two things together.
The wood has abrasions, it seems like old wood, and you don't try to clean that up. It has a nice combination of the pristine and the roughed up surface.
The reclaimed wood, it has a story behind it already when I start on it, so I like that aspect of it.
Where do you get it?
I get it all over the place. I find it on the sidewalk, people give it to me, I go to antique stores, house sales, anywhere I can get it.
And what part of New Jersey? Woodstown, perhaps?
Haha, Port Republic, wood capital of South Jersey.
My name is Jackie Sandra. I'm the director of Clay College. I'm from Newfield, New Jersey. I've been doing ceramics and clay and making pottery for over 25, 30 years. Got my BA at Glasper State and then got my MFA at Tyler School of Art. Used to do a lot of functional pottery and then I started doing more sculptural pieces. I primarily work figuratively. The older pieces are made from a cast of a human torso, and then I illustrate using the torso as like a visual journal of people I know, myself. The recent pieces are more angular and deal with planes of slabs of clay. I'm inspired by armor, a metaphor for a figure, but also a lot of surfaces depicting different emotions.
And you have writing and pictures and all sorts of decorations on the surfaces.
Yeah, most of my pieces come from a narrative, either biographical, something in my childhood, something in my life. I'm really telling a story. Adventures of Clumsox, the latest piece, and part of it's wood and part of it's clay. Images from a Victorian picture book I found.
Do you fantasize about being Queen Victoria?
Yeah, I do. It's like the me I want to be.
Hi, I'm Mike Schwaggart. I paint landscapes. I began painting around 1985 and started doing illustration and moved into fine art. I am drawn to detail. I start out loose and then it's inevitable that I get detail. It's a layered process and just a refining process.
Where are the places that you're painting?
A lot of the area is South Jersey, where I live. Farmland around Pittman and Glassboro, Salem County, Gloucester County, Cumberland County, anywhere it's natural for the most part. I teach adjunct art appreciation at Rowan College at Gloucester County.
Rowan is a great school.
Yeah, thank you. I went to Rowan University. My teacher that got me started painting is Dan Chard. Took him for illustration and he saw that I could paint, so he encouraged me to paint. That's what I did.
And is New Jersey a particularly beautiful state?
Yes, it is. There's areas that people probably don't know about. You have to be adventurous. My wife is always freaking out because I'll drive down this dirt road that says dead end or something, but I have to see what's at the end. Where I'll climb fences that I probably shouldn't climb.
Hi, I'm Teri. I mostly paint animals.
The cows, do you have some kind of a farm background?
I did find out at a later date that my great-grandfather was a dairy farmer. So who knows, with entanglement in DNA. And for me, cows work because people can relate to them without feeling they're the other, but they're still big enough that they're imposing and they have a power, so it makes you think of your animal nature. When you look at them, you feel safe and comfortable to look at them, but not too comfortable like you would with a cat or a dog.
Where do you get your references?
Anywhere I can. I pull over as much as possible. I have been shocked a few times with electric fences, I will say this.
The cow with his crow friend, the glow, explain that.
Oh, that's their shared attitude. You know how when you talk to somebody that you maybe don't know and you have that moment of recognition that they know something and you know something and you just go, uh-huh. So it's a little mysterious, so there you have it.
I'm Ted Walsh. I'm a painter, and this is my fiance Kay. We're here at Stanek Gallery.
What did you ever do to deserve somebody like that?
I don't know, I got really lucky. Born and raised in Vineland, and then I went to school, and then I lived in Philly for a while, and now I'm living back in Vineland with my family. I went to Drew University undergraduate school, Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts for graduate school, and I graduated PAFA in 2011. These paintings in this show are a few landscapes and some South Jersey pictures. There's a figure picture inspired by memories of growing up in South Jersey when I was a kid. Swimming out in the Cedar Lakes and Cranberry Bogs out in the Pine Barrens. One of the air bases around there, or one of the firing ranges, the fighter jets used to fly over and turn around, so you'd be swimming out in the woods and the jets would fly over and you'd look up and hear them. And the pastel is East Vineland picture, very flat farmland South Jersey picture, that old architecture of South Jersey.
Some of your paintings have almost Hopper-esque loneliness to them. Desolate, but very poetically so.
Yeah. yeah, Hopper is one of my favorites, for sure.
My name is Judith Rosenthal. I'm a ceramic artist. My medium is porcelain paper clay. When you add paper fibers, it changes the consistency of the clay and enables you to work with it differently than stoneware or plain porcelain. I can put very thin pieces together. It gives my work a very, very delicate, fragile appearance. I really am not a detail person at all. I'm surprised that I have the patience to do this kind of work because I'm very, by nature, an impatient person. But when I start working, I get into a zone. I guess it's a way of meditation for me. It takes me away from everything else in life, and I can focus intently on my work, and I find that is what draws me to it.
Where in New Jersey do you live?
In Cherry Hill.
Oh, there you go. So New Jersey, the prize of the tri-state area?
That's right.
My name is Joanie Gagnon Santarico. I live in Toms River, New Jersey. I paint, or sometimes I work with resin. Sometimes I work in textile. Depends on the application. Most of my work is about preservation so that we keep what we have for future generations. For instance, I'm working on a series called Surge, which is about rising seas.
And the surge referring to the storm surge of Sandy?
Exactly, a storm surge of Sandy, and ever since Sandy, it seems that we're having more and more flooding at the Jersey Shore. I've done a lot of work post-Sandy because our area was hit very hard, and I did a series that I think is finished now called Spores, which is about the mold that inundated Sandy-affected houses.
How does mold affect people?
Destroys their houses. So even after the water's gone, you think it's okay to go back in, and then there's this toxic mold that can kill you or cause really bad allergic reactions.
Almost ironic because your paintings are beautiful and yet they're portraying something maybe a little deadly.
And that's the whole point, that you look at it and you look beyond the pretty to see what really is painted there. If I can draw attention to that kind of thing, then I've done my job.
Hello, I'm Sean Taylor. I live in Cape May, New Jersey. I went to school at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts for painting. And I did so because I wanted to learn how to paint the figure. What I do is a socio-political narrative of America and how we relate to the world and how I relate to the society.
The three women on the beach are kind of interesting. What are they doing?
To me, they're like the three muses. The one in the middle is like purity. And the one on the left is somewhat lustful. And the one on the right has got attitude.
The three of them make the perfect woman?
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
How about the boxing painting?
It's based on a boxer named Vinny Paz who won 50 out of 60 fights, 30 knockouts. It represents my own inner struggles, plus there's a visceral nature to the boxer. It's fun to paint because I get physically involved in the painting. There's always a lot of texture.
The one with the almost beauty pageant-like women, what's that one about?
Well, this one I call Desire is the American Dream. It's an image from the 50s. I'm comparing conformity to the more liberal attitude today. A lot of people want to go back to that time. I'm suggesting that there's an undercurrent. These women weren't conformists. There was a lot more going on.
Only one of the artists couldn't make the opening, but I spoke to her via phone about her abstract expressionist paintings.
Hi, I'm Sheila Korvarsky. I'm an abstract painter from the Jersey Shore near Long Beach Island. The newest painting in the show is What Rain Brings. I'm really sensitive to weather and sun and light. I wanted to find the positives about a rainy day, and I love painting in my studio to classical music on a rainy day. I was really classically trained. I went to Syracuse Art School. I learned all the things you need to learn, the basics about composition and color and design and line. I had some wonderful teachers, all of whom could sense that I was chomping at the bit to break out of that mold. Philip Sherrod became my mentor. He tried to get you to pull from deep inside intensely. It taught me a lot, and I stayed with him for 10 years. I really feel now that I am here on this earth to convey happiness to people.
Well, Sheila, you and your fellow artists in the Stanek Gallery's Bridges show certainly have brought a lot of joy and beauty, Jersey style, to Old City, Philadelphia. And it's going to be up through the rest of the year.